Hello. I thought I'd answer the thread that Blake, dear member of the vinyl community, started about book recommendations about music, and I thought, well, why not show you some of my favorite books here? And the thing is, many of my books are in Swedish because, well, they are written in Swedish, and I come from Sweden, so. But I think I'll start with the English ones, and then I will show you some ones in Swedish. And I thought, well, when I show you the books in Swedish, I might even, yeah, I think I'll even switch to Swedish, so you'll have the great pleasure of hearing me speaking Swedish. And if there's any of these Swedish books that you want to know more about, you can simply contact me. But um, they are written in Swedish, so if you don't understand Swedish, they might not be that useful for you, with some exceptions. Right, but we'll start with with the English pile. Well, this first one is actually it's a Swedish. It's a translation to Swedish, but it's A Revolution in the Head by Ian MacDonald. I think many of you are very familiar with this. Revolution i huvudet, because it lists the Beatles' different recordings from the 60s, and with lots of details. The late Ian MacDonald has really studied the Beatles' music very carefully, and even though maybe not everything here is 100% accurate, it's still a very interesting book to read while you listen to your Beatles records. This is what my copy looks like. Uh, for those of you who are interested in Swedish prog, sorry, we have this quite nice masterpiece, the Encyclopedia of Swedish Progressive Music, 1967 to 1979, written by Tobias Pettersson and Ulf Henningsson, who is the editor, which lists all the Swedish records during the from 1969 to 1979 that lists or that could be described as progressive in any kind, and it looks a bit like this. I mean, it's we have short biographies of the artists and group members and the records they issued with some sort of collector's value, how sought after they are, and color pictures of the different sleeves and some labels. Very useful, very useful. This was issued on the Premium Publishing book publishing house, and they have published many interesting books for record collectors. And this is written in English, even though it's about Swedish records. Here's another book from the Premium Publishing, also written in English, but by a Swedish Swedish man called Jan Pettersson. Labelography, the major UK record labels. A first pressing identification guide for CBS, Columbia, Decca, Fontana, His Master's Voice, Parlophone, and Pi. Singles, EPs, and LPs, 1953 to 1975. It's it may not be that exciting to read, but it's very useful. Very useful. But when it comes to exciting to read, I mean, I love Stephen Fry. And he's written this book, Stephen Fry's Incomplete and Utter History of Classical Music, and it's, I mean, you laugh out loud, you loll, so to speak, when you read this. I think it's so hilarious and interesting. It's quite interesting. Well, if you, what happened to the camera? Hello, oh there. If you are interested in music and you want to know more about what to search for, what may be interesting, these kinds of books may be really interesting. 1,000 Recordings to Hear Before You Die, A Listener's Life List by Tom Moon. And it brings up all kinds of music from all kinds of cultures and from all times, of course. And it's you get many good ideas from this. not a thing you read through the whole book through, but very interesting. Okay. The A to Z of Record Labels by Brian Southall, forward by Chris Wright, second edition. Very interesting, gives you short stories about all the important record companies, their history and so on. Oh yeah, this may not look that fantastic, but I was so happy when I found this. It's the American Record Label Book by the recently late Brian Rust. This was printed. This is the first pressing from late 70s, 78, I think. Yeah, 78. And there has been many newer issues of this ever since, but still, it's such a lovely thing to read about different record labels from the 78 RPM era, the early years. And I was really happy when I found this. These are quite hard to get hold of, especially here in Sweden. Well, anywhere in Europe, I guess. And the next one is not really. I wonder what is with my cam. It keeps going out of focus. Maybe I moved too fast. Never mind. The last English thing I'm going to show you isn't really a book, but it's still very worth reading. It's The Rolling Stone, cover to cover. Every issue from the start up until May 2007, and these are of course on DVDs, but you can read all the different issues of the famous paper Rolling Stone. Very useful, and I bought this on a sale, and you even have this quite remarkable book. You can search for different artists if there's anything special you want to read about. And I think it's very interesting to read the current reviews on the today legendary recordings. What did the Rolling Stone critics think when it was released and so on? I think it's very, very interesting. Okay, so I'm now going to switch over to Swedish. So those of you who don't understand, you are free to continue watching, but you may not understand that much, but still it might be interesting for you to hear the wonderful language Swedish. And for my Swedish friends in the vinyl community, you will be able to hear me speaking in my mother tongue, so to speak. Ja, då börjar vi. Claes Gustafssons bok om Cornelis Vreeswijk, ett bluesliv, är ju alldeles utmärkt läsning. Bästa boken om Cornelis, det finns flera stycken, jag har läst allihopa. Jag gillar Oscar Hedlunds bok också, men den här är lite starkare faktiskt. Apropå prog, den här har ni säkert sett. Många av er, 99 progplattor. Till skillnad från den lite torrare encyklopedian så är den här faktiskt riktigt intressant skriven också. Och den brukar ofta stycka upp på bokrea. Alltså. Det är definitivt värt att ha för om man är intresserad av prog. Och är man intresserad av prog så har man det säkert också redan. För mig som samlare av 78-varvare så böcker om de gamla hjältarna, till exempel den här, Ernst Rolf, skriven av Uno Myggan Eriksson från slutet av 60-talet. Och det är en mycket intressant och välskriven biografi om en mycket intressant artist. Ja, så kommer vi till en bok som några kanske avundas att jag har. Men jag var nämligen väldigt klok att jag höll mig framme och köpte ett exemplar av den stora popboken när den släpptes 1995, tror jag. Jag hade inte räknat med att det skulle bli så efterfrågat senare. Jag brukar se den dyka upp i andra hand för ganska höga summor på auktioner och så. Men ni känner säkert till den. Det är en välskriven bok som tar upp de svenska popgrupperna och artisterna som var aktiva på från 1954 till 69. Och för en samlare är den mycket bra att ha. Stora popboken. Det finns många böcker om min hjälte Povel Ramel, och det har ju nyligen släppts en jättebok om honom som jag skulle kunna visa här, men jag vill hellre visa den här. Med gårdagens dörr på glänt, Povel Ramel och melodins epok. Det här är alltså en doktorsavhandling av Johanna Broman Åkesson, som är mycket aktiv inom Povel Ramel-sällskapet och som doktorerade just på Povel Ramel för några år sedan. Och jag kan säga att det är en liten egogrej att jag visar den här också, eftersom jag hjälpte henne med att skicka henne en text om Povel Ramels sätt att bilda nya ord med hjälp av existerande ord som jag skrev på som en uppsats för några år sedan. Och som tack så finns jag faktiskt omnämnd i den här. Och det är ju lite trevligt att vara med bland källorna i en avhandling om Povel Ramel. Det är jag faktiskt ganska stolt över. Sen så över till den här som jag tycker var en glad överraskning. 1000 svenska klassiker. Det är inte bara musik utan även tv och böcker och allting som den tar upp. Men jag får säga att jag tycker att urvalet är alldeles utmärkt. Och en mycket trevlig och intressant läsning. Ja, och så sista boken jag tänker visa, det är Örjan Svedbergs Hoola Bandoola om ett band, en tid och en stad. Välskriven och intressant om Sveriges mest kända prunkband där det begav sig. Ja, det var allt för mig. Tack så mycket.